Here we go. Hi, Erin.
Greetings.
Greetings from
Um,
this density.
we're laying down some foundation, some intro, because we're going to have a very exciting conversation with Mr. Noel Tobin shortly. So we're going to look at some stuff to put a foundation down for the conversation that we're going to have then. And we're going to start by talking about vibration and oscillation and defining our word terms. Yeah?
Indeed, yes.
Okay.
I love it.
You going to talk about this?
Yeah, so and these are terms for vibration and oscillation. This is the Kathara level 1 manual you have open here.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I was in the old freedom teaching stuff was that vibration is the function of ire or magnetism in sound, which is the energy contained within. It's the magnetic pull within, whereas the contrast would be oscillation, which is the electrical, the manet, that's the push out. So when our
Manet, yep, Manet.
yeah, and when our consciousness is expressing and exploring outwards, as oscillation, the push out, the vibration goes down. So it's a common misnomer in New Age terminology that vibration and frequency are often used the same. Frequency is just
Yeah,
a measurement of the cycles per second of energy,
right.
whereas oscillation is the outward expression. And in the Aruba Shift Masters chart pack, this is from 2014. It defines it as oscillation is energy expressed outside or external creation, whereas vibration is energy held inside or internal creation.
Yes.
And our focus can only be on one or the other at the same time for whatever the function is of what we're doing. When we meditate, when we pray, when we do journeys, we are going inside and expanding into internal creation.
Yes.
Whereas when we're externally focused and awake throughout the day, working, playing, most of those things are oscillation expression, where our consciousness is exploring and going into the external. And yeah, I guess all of these functions that you have up on the screen, can you scroll that slightly? By the way, beautiful Kathara grid painting you're working on there.
Thanks. My hands like to be this, doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way that these two contrast together is everything that corresponds on the left side there are functions of oscillation. So that means on a spectrum of actually I have a picture that I have scanned of my notebook on this too that'll pull up in a little second here. The higher dimensional fields, which is 8 to 15, the lower dimensional fields would be
Here we go.
1 to 8.
Here's some. Yes. Yep. Lower dimensional fields would be 1 to 8. Higher dimensions would be 8 to 15. And so that shows us our first little clue as to why the 8 is a key location, right?
Because it's directly in the center.
At the center. The Azure is the core of the Kathara grid, is the center of the Kathara grid. Okay, do you want to read this? This is the definition.
The vibration oscillation one?
Yeah.
Vibration is the condition of internal movement or holding of energy units of consciousness, particle, and the particles built upon them. Vibration is determined by the quantity of energy held within particle units. Oscillation is the condition of external movement or the expanding of energy from particle units and the particles built upon them. Okay,
so that would be when Source made the first particle. I think that is why if you never made the second particle, there would never be the expression of it, right? So once that second particle is made, then you have the back and forth of popping into expression and then back out of expression into vibration, oscillation, and then back into vibration. So there's like this it's a dual, so like the first particle, when you have the triad form, the unified ball is the Manu, right? It's so that particle one would be like holding a Manu current with all the everything possible inside of it. They could express into many things depending on the will that comes behind and then splits it, is what's going to decide how that expresses, I guess. But my point is that later in the Aruba workshop, like you're talking about, we start to understand that that we've been, that everything that all that structure that we've studied is all that core creation sequence, that octant clock. It starts with the creation of the first two particle, right? And goes all the way around. All of that gets created, we find out it going outward. It also is being created inwardly, like sort of like the relationship between like a Torre and a Dore being two sides of the same plate. We know that there's a mirroring that happens at that level, right? That it's actually happening in two directions at the same time. And that's where we realize that it's also happening inwardly. Like if the spiral progression would go 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, there's another spiral that's progressing 1, 1/2, 1/4, 1/16, 1/32, 1/64, right?
Yep.
Inwardly. It's really only internal. Because of we are in external. When we go internally, it doesn't seem that way anymore. Then where we are seems internal, and we would be in the experience, we'd be in the expression of the internal. Then wherever you are is where you're experiencing the expression of that place by being there, because that's the consciousness coming to observe, right? That potential. You make that place become the oscillation, the external for you. And now where we are would seem internal to them. So we're putting these labels on it, but we have to understand it's not linear, that it's actually existing in the same place at the same time, but just at a different angle of particle spin. And so many of these diagrams and the stuff you're going to show, these are all one way to look at it to help your mind to understand and to start to fit this together, because it's very multidimensional and intricate. and right. So go ahead.
Yeah, I love that. I think you got it. I think one of the first recordings that I ever saw of yours, I don't remember if you were talking to Leona, but just the simple way that you described, I've always found this, and people that are interested in philosophy, it's often a question to struggle with, is why the universe? Because science as we know it, it's studying external manifestation. And it cannot answer why the universe. It answers how the universe, to some extent, as far as it can, by only looking at dimensions 1, 2, and 3, or density 1, harmonic universe 1.
Time out. Can we rewind the video and see where did I set down the ruler I was just using?
I don't know. It's recording in the cloud, so
all right.
we gotta have it export and do that. That's hilarious, though. Maybe the evidence is available. You found it.
All right. Okay. Repeat the last thing that you were saying about a harmonic universe 1.
Oh yeah, so harmonic universe 1, and what do we know as contemporary modern day earth science? What is it doing? It's looking out. It is an expression of oscillation, to be like, this is this,
that's
that
the
is
only
that.
thing that can be true.
Yes. And it says that is the objective reality, when ultimately I like the term consensus reality, whereas the internal experience or interior sciences, which I don't think is an abuse of the term science that way, it can be a shared experience. It is a study of the internal mechanics, though. And so that would be like, I don't know, a new age terminology would be non-consensus reality if it's just my single-sided perspective. But those experiences internally can be shared as we activate and achieve higher levels of awareness. We can share those experiences with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're just two different sides, not two sides of the coin. Why am I using that term? It's two different sides of the Vekas, right?
Well, I wonder if it's kind of like the difference between convex and concave. Like the
Mm.
two sides of the circle or the plate become
Hmm.
two perspectives on the sphere.
I love that. Yeah, that's a beautiful. I love how sometimes metaphors aren't even metaphors. It's a literal example to
But
help
it
us
changes,
understand
right?
what it means.
Because then when you go into when you flip your perspective, it's all dependent on where your consciousness is stationed. And
Mm.
so that's how we're trying to understand everything from the context of where we're looking at it from. But it's helpful to keep in mind that it's not objective, like you're saying. It changes and it's all in motion. It's all spinning and rotating and phasing. So
That's kind of the gift of the theory of relativity as well, because the reference point of where your focus is to perceive the thing or things you're perceiving is exactly part of the experiment, of the internal experience, and the observer is part of what is observed.
yes, and
It's the
we know
whole.
that our science has kind of figured that out, right?
Yeah. I do think that a lot of the time, though, even just the basic understandings of these things, in my experience with most other people that do not have, let's say, a strong meditation practice in their life, or an internal science practice and discipline that they work with,
Mm.
they often forget that whole particle wave duality experiment, and that the observer of the experience is also creating the result. And if
Yes.
we internalize that understanding, it means we're always doing that. We're literally consciousness machines that are co-creating the universe we're experiencing.
Yeah, right. And so I understand what you're meaning by that. I just going to add because this is something that our science has to maybe open up to before it's going to ever be able to perceive any of this, is that all science right now is based on the belief that consciousness is a product of our physical body, that our consciousness is created by our brain,
Yeah,
with but that's backwards.
it's
That's
completely
it's
backwards.
completely backwards.
Yeah.
It is the consciousness. It is our eternal spirit consciousness, Jari,
Hmm.
that comes in to the body, that is consciousness. It's the consciousness in our mind, the consciousness in our body, and the consciousness in our atoms together that is creating all the physicality that we're currently experiencing. The consciousness is first, and that also explains God. And that also shows how God and science are the same thing,
Yeah.
because God made the science and God is the science.
Hmm. Can we
And
switch screen shares and I'll pull up some other
oh yeah,
diagrams to support this?
what yeah. What do you want me to just pull it up or do you want to switch?
Well, I have a whole bunch of images
Okay.
and stuff prepared on my second screen here.
I'll share.
I think I can do,
Did I stop?
I think so. Can you
All right.
see this? No, screen share is paused. Resume. Is that? Here we go.
Yep.
So
I
this is the Aruba chart pack on oscillation and vibration. What I did want to pull up here is, as you were just mentioning, the structure So the biggest lie we have been taught down here is that what you see in the mirror is what creates your consciousness. The person you see in the mirror is in fact a portion of your spirit which entered form and became a co-creator of the manifest illusion in order to express and experience something. And then, as you were saying before, like how does this explain even the concept of God, which is not even a concept? To make it a concept, we can use terminology to describe this, but it's not a thing. The first Partakai unit, and this is what I was going into earlier that I really appreciated in one of the first talks I heard you explain of why the universe, right? The difference between philosophy and science, or spirituality and science, is that the best answer I ever heard was from Ken Wilber, who said, why the universe? The best answer he ever heard, and I agree, is because it's no fun to play chess by yourself. And the structure of it, of course, the structure and the laws like physics that are baked into the manifest universe are part of the experience. And the structure of the Kathara grid and your beautiful painting that you're drawing there, well, it is a painting, right?
It is a painting, yep.
And a drawing.
And a drawing.
And I do want to bring up that you're going to be doing a workshop class soon at some point when you have the time, especially after this challenging experience of needing to move your your life and your family to another home. But you will be offering a class on how to draw the Rashitan code, which here I can pull up. Where would I have that? Doot, doot. Keyline codes. I know I bring this up all the time, so we should all know what this looks like. But this is 12 crystal spirals, which are drawn off of a Kathara grid. And you have taught yourself how to use, with a compass and a ruler and a pencil, how to draw this. And also how to color it by following and tracing it. There we go. Oh, yes. Can you
want
get
me to go over? Oh,
Well, if you want to,
I
we
could.
can do that later. It's
Yeah,
just
sure.
so incredibly beautiful that you can do this with your hands.
Thanks.
I was just saying to a friend of mine too, it's things that the way information is compartmentalized these days and the way it feels very dependent upon the digital technologies that we have to help us draw these, it almost robs us of the actual understanding to grok it, to like fully
Oh,
embody and
there is
understand.
so much I've learned. I mean, I don't think I would understand nearly what I understand because without having drawn it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yep.
so much is revealed through that process of how it's all connected.
Yep. I could not agree more. So anyway, plugging your also I have, so when we meet with Noel, I think this is a beautiful animation he made of why a Kathara grid is such an important structure
Yeah, did you want to
of
finish what
how
you
it
were saying about God? You
oh
were
what
saying
you were
there's
saying
something.
about it is that why the universe is like
Yeah, yeah.
the time matrix we experience is that was the choice of source to create the first Paracai unit. And when that happened, I think we have, Noel did so many great animations on this. And one of them is oh, yeah, we were just talking about this too, how difficult it is. It's so much information and it's like all over the world and everyone's different templates, and it's difficult to consolidate it into a place where we can find it while we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Partakai phasing. Here we go.
We
Oops.
got to work on our telepathy, people.
Yes, yes. Get our plasma bodies activated. So here's a beautiful little video on this. where the Manu point is, so this one in the middle here is the imprint of both that comes from source. And when it polarizes, it splits into Ire and Mane, magnetic, electric, and then it will phase back together. It will leave behind the dissolution of disharmonics and the resolution to go back. And the definition of a Christic template would be one that maintains the structure and the relationship of how it goes back to source. And that is what the definition of a crystal spiral would be. And it's also based on the square root of 2, because you see that as it perfectly every 45 degrees, each grid will nest absolutely beautifully within itself. And it's represented by the in-breath and the out-breath as we breathe, and it nests within itself, which also offers some pretty amazing and much more complex structures that I do want to talk about with Noel, because I know we can pick his brain on,
I
like
just
here,
finished
for
it,
example.
or almost finished it. This is
Oh,
what
beautiful. I
this is
love it.
what this is 8 spirals. So this would be 2 spirals on each of the 4 Vecca quadrants,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can, it's only when you draw this that you can see the what happens here in the middle, all these flames. Do you see how it makes flames not only this way on the x-axis, we also have, where are we? Flames on the 45 degree. You see them
Mm-hmm.
nested inside each other?
And that's when the 4 goes to the 8
This is the
as
8.
well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this is what I mean by drawing it. Yes. So isn't it so pretty?
Yeah,
It looks
it's
like a rose.
beautiful. Hey, dude.
Mm-hmm. I know that's
Yeah.
really small on the screen,
Yeah. It's
but
absolutely
I don't think
beautiful.
we have, I don't think there's a graph where you see this. I don't think she ever drew it like this.
I don't think so. Well, I don't know. I
It's
don't have the information pulled up here. Here's something that's really wonderful though. So this drawing here is the Yukatha Rista body template, which is nested Kathara grids within each other. This I wanted to pull this up as an example of why a Kathara grid is so beautiful and so self-evident, because they nest within each other. And there's even, here's a contrasted version of what a Fibonacci spiral looks like. It's on a broken template. It doesn't have a center point.
no.
It has to pull away from something like a crystal spiral, which maintains its integrity. That's something that I learned back in the day
Integrity,
studying.
that's virtue 3.
Yep. And the integrity of a shape must be able to hold its shape without extra layers of support. But this is, see, it's just so beautiful. This is just amazing how all of them, as they move together, they contract. So that's like the internal expansion is to return back to source, and it plays the opposite way as we express outward. The experience of the manifestation template of a Kathara grid is that it goes boop, it shows up. This is the structure of what the crystalline light structures of Partakai units that become Partakai grids, that become Kelons and Kelon codes, then morphogenetic fields looks like. And if the template maintains itself, that's the definition of a Christic structure, because it can maintain that relationship of the Partakai units we're built out of, which, by the way, are apparently it's like trillions of times per second. Everything is flashing on and off in the whole universe.
Trillions of times per nanosecond.
Per nanosecond. Thank you. Yes. Trillions of times per nanosecond. The universe is manifesting and demanifesting, and we are part of that co-creative experience. And exactly what we believe will be happening is exactly what will happen. And together as a community, when we carry our shields, I really love the term shield in this context. So on this drawing of a grid, The telluric matter, gross matter body shield is dimension 1, 2, and 3. And then the shields above, it's
It'd be
each,
like that, right?
yes, yes,
Shields. Mm-hmm.
yep.
Here,
I
it's a
love
large
that.
shield. So
I
that's it.
think I have a bigger picture of it too. So this one is done in vector artwork as well, but it shows on the Kathara grid where each body, the Hova bodies, I just did with my sister Smay, we just did a video on the 12 human senses, and the Hova bodies were part of that because that is the embodiment. Even the words that we use are so precise, the embodiment of our consciousness in each one of these bodies can be represented precisely within these structures. It's just so beautiful. It's just so cool. Oh,
It makes everything make sense.
it makes everything make sense. Yes.
That was my
And
experience because I spent a lot of years studying our sciences and
mhm,
none of them made sense.
none of them made sense because they're all based on the broken structure that we've been trained for what, like 10, 11, 12,000 years, that hey, this is how it is. And every aspect of what we have been taught from the top down as a control dogma has been designed specifically to keep us stuck and to keep us phase locked here.
Yes. Can't phase. That means can't spiral,
Mm-hmm.
can't breathe.
Can't spiral, can't breathe, can't move. The structure is locked. It's frozen light. But we, through our understanding of this,
It's
are the medicine. That is what the human template is literally the medicine to fix this, because we can embody all of these dimensions of consciousness from the top down and experience it in density 1, which apparently is completely unprecedented in our experience of the universe.
yes, it is. This has never been, these energies have never been here before.
It's never been necessary to do that either. Only in a full matrix is this necessary to even understand or to manifest as. Let's see, what else do I want to put up here? So this is the Aruba chart plaque. Okay, so this I wanted to go over briefly because you have this amazing ability to express this here of the core creation sequence of a human body. And in your stick geometry study group, you have a video on being able to express this so well that this direction here is this a torre? But
Yep.
from this point of the 0 point axis, they go whoosh. They happen simultaneously in
Right.
counter rotating directions.
Right.
And,
Yep.
and that is the expression also of the linked Kathara grids like this, where here, let me pause this at the beginning.
Yeah, and that's what this is showing is there's
Mm,
when one spiral goes this way and the other one goes this way, you end up with they come together as the flames.
mm. And it's also how to at the Merkaba fields that are expressed. I really want to, I've had this dream
Well,
for a long time.
what was your point about the core creation sequence? What did you want to?
I don't know. I just wanted to hear you talk about it because you can articulate this a lot
Oh, all right.
with a lot more precision than I can.
Can I
Do you
use
want to
that? Oh, here it is. One
screen share it?
No, I just want my vanishing pen. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Can you see
wow,
that?
you can do that on here. Okay,
I
cool.
guess I can.
Yeah,
Did you see it?
I did. Yes.
Okay.
That's
So what do
neat.
you want? You want to talk about the human body?
I don't know. Which one do you want to go to?
Well, it doesn't, I can talk from either one. It doesn't matter.
How about this one?
All right. But so
Just
these,
get like a quick 5-minute rundown of the counter-rotating cycles because I want to get into, and when we talk to Noel, to talk about a dore and a tore and what that means.
Okay. Okay, sure.
And you had a beautiful question you mentioned yesterday or the day before, is what is the name of the energy flows that correspond to each one, which was ethos and eros, was that it?
Well, so no, but my question is, well, wait a minute. Because we need a different diagram. So real quick,
Okay.
I'll talk about this one. And this, so here this axis here, this is what we call the zero axis. That's why you can see this teeny shape of a Kathara grid in here. See how it's
Mhm.
pointing here. This is where it starts. Like when I
That's
start,
node 12 at the top.
yep. So what happens, okay, when the second particle is created and splits particle one and their phasing begins, that's called the triad. It's two particle that make the triad, because one whole particle and then one split particle together makes three fields, right? The plus, the minus, and the omni or neutral. Two particle, three fields. That's called the triad. That births right here on the zero axis. So this would be particle one created. This is particle two created. This is the birth of the triad. And now that triad is going to phase and it's going to make sparks. And just to be very brief, it makes the first four sparks. Now, these are called backflow sparks. So the sparking of the particle not only makes the spark, which holds the same quantum as the particle itself, that spark also triggers the creation point door to open. And so this is what allows, this is called backflow. And this is what we mean when we talk about it can't breathe, it's not connected, it's a broken template. This is the problem.
Or phase locked as
That
well. Yeah.
there's the creation point door cannot open, and we are not sending backflow. We can't. Not from a broken template. It has to be able to connect to this creation point door. And then the reason you want to send backflow is because then you receive backflow return. And this is everything that the perpetual motion eternal life is created by, is allowed through. So the spark opens the door and the particle and the spark go back to source, and source turns around, sends backflow return, sends particle one and spark one and a backflow return spark. It all comes back out. And every time there's a spark, this happens, backflow and backflow return. And what changes is how much does source send back, because it will begin to be multiplied exponentially. Like it will be a times one return, times one, then times two, then three, and it gets bigger. And so when you hit along the creation sequence here, there are points where a threshold gets met, that there's an energy threshold, a quantum point gets hit where it makes something different happen than just the creation of more energy. Something new happens. And the first time we see that in this sequence is on the fourth spark. So particle one made two sparks, particle two made two sparks, and
That's here. You're talking about spark one, spark two, spark three, spark four.
yes. And so if you can imagine four sparks and two particle, that makes six, right? And so it's actually particle one, particle two, and spark one crystallize, because this quantum threshold gets met, and that means it all compresses into the core. It all gets pulled into the creation point door, the whole thing, not just the backflow. The whole thing goes in and it comes back out, and under that compression and heat, the Kusha crystal and the Kasha crystals are created. The Kusha crystal is made out of particle one and particle two and spark one, And the Kasha crystal's made out of sparks 2, 3, and 4. There are also, we have the backflow return sparks. So there's more than that, but that's the part that is relevant to this right now. And that's what gets created, the Kusha crystal and the Kasha crystal. And so it's the Kusha crystal, that's the core memory crystal, the core encryption, the core perfected encryption of that thing. And this crystal is going to be spinning, progress along its creation sequence in a clockwise fashion. And at the same time, in the same place, the Kasha crystal is doing the same thing, going the other way. And so when we look at this, we're looking at just one. We're looking at it in terms of the Kasha, because that's where we are. And that is what becomes the Akashic record first cell, and then the Akashic Hall of Records, and then the other side. So this is where we have Ettore, the Ettore side, Kusha with a C-O-U, Kusha equals Ettore, Kasha equals Adore, capital A-D-O-R-A. Okay, and that's spinning counterclockwise, same place, but just in the other direction. So that's the difference between Ettore and Adore. And what I was talking about was, we need to look at that spirit body with the 7 balls, the one vector line that has the balls on it, the domains.
Oh yeah. Where do I have that? I don't think it's in this one.
I've got it.
You've got it?
Pull
Here,
it up.
we'll switch screen share. I'll do stop share. You're so great at explaining that. You know, there's also elements all over this diagram where I see the term E-Dawn is another creation point, and the Akashic record, we're so misled by just getting little nuggets of this info and then completely misled about what it is, you know?
Oh yeah.
Without the precision of mechanics and the greater dimensional structure to understand.
Right, it's all just fluff. Like, you don't see any connection. How's it all connect? That's what I was studying, sacred geometry, for a long time, because I wanted to incorporate it into my art. And I just kept thinking, I just must not get it, because I couldn't find how it all connected. Like, well, what's this have to do with science? How do these platonic solids make atoms? Like, what is a Merkaba field for? What does it do? Like, there's no connection between this stuff. They're just all these individual things that we think, oh yeah, you know, we do have a memory of it, because those things, yeah, those do exist. But without the context, we have no idea how to determine whether what we're being told about it is correct or not. Is when you feel like you're confused and you're missing something, and it just, nothing makes sense or connects. Maybe that should cause us pause. Say, what's up with this paradigm? Like, I had to get to the point where I was willing to question literally everything. Literally everything I ever believed, ever knew, I didn't care if I was right or wrong. It did no longer matter to me, because I was actually just interested in what's true. And so when you can get all that stuff out of the way, it makes room for a perspective that you never considered even existed.
And that the wool has been pulled over our eyes. I don't know why it's not loading either. I can probably pull that up here.
It's this
too.
It's in, wait.
Is it just downloading one page at a time?
Okay. Well, here's.
It's on its side.
I know, that drives you nuts. The picture doesn't matter though. Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Iridana.
Oh wait, let's look at this one.
Body.
Let's look at this one. Okay.
And these are the yuga cycles. Can you maximize that at all?
Yep.
Any chance? Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So we have the Yuga and Yeta bodies, matter states of the Hara body. So we're talking about the difference between ettore and adore. So we see those words, right? Where's my,
Left side Ettore, right side Adore.
so we see those words right here. Ettore system, adore system. Okay. So it's talking about if, okay, so here's creation point door at the middle of the ball. But because all these labels and words we're looking at, this is another creation point door. This is actually up here. This line isn't, it doesn't exist down here. It's just where we put the labels, right? So we're talking about this line. So the adore spinning counterclockwise, the manifest atmic body of adore is going to come out in this direction in these domains of the spirit body. So core domain, then we have an inner on this side and an inner domain on this side. They come out at the same time, and then it moves another ball out to this and this. These would be the middle domains, and then these would be the outer domains. And these are where these words, these would be the radons, the edons, the adons, and then the core. And see, it's repeated. So we have the adons,
and they go
edons,
from the center out.
radons. Yeah. So now forget about adore for a second. Let's just look at the ettore, what comes out from the middle. So the ettore manifest, that's us, comes out and moves this way. And at the same time that that's happening, the ettore spirit body worlds are coming out this way. So we have our atmic self facing this direction, moving outward this way. And at the same time, we have our spirit moving this way out to the edge. And we're supposed to get to the edge at the same time and then turn around and move back together. So on the same line, at the same time, we also have, now forget about ettore. Forget about ettore.
Okay.
Now we have adore.
Forgotten.
At the same time, on the adore side, we have the adore manifest bodies, worlds, everything coming out this direction, the manifest. We have, and adore also has its spirit body, worlds, everything coming out this way. So over here on our vecca, which is a half of a vector, we have our atmic manifest self, and we have the spirit body, the spirit template body worlds of adore is on our side. And the same thing's true in reverse. Our spirit body is over here on the adore side of the vector. Okay. So this is called our body here, and plus the adore's spirit body, which is over here with us, come together, and adore and our spirit body, this is when it's, I think this is what is your iridonis. This is called the iridonis. And it's not just you and your spirit body that come together back at the middle when you, I mean, that's one level of ascension, but there's another level of ascension in which ettore and adore spirit and adore spirit. So it's four things, not just two, not just us and our spirit. There's four things that merge back together. Us and our spirit, and adore's us and that spirit. And that comes together on another level of ascension. And that's called raising the iridonis. And so in Kathara 2.3, we see that same Eka system, or you could look at it as you know, on the map level or on the body level. We see how the four Kathara grids that fit together on the XY axis, they have now two Kathara grids on each XY axis, coming at four actually. So there's another
Mhm.
Kathara grid on top of the top one that's connected at the points, the 1 and the 12 points. Is it the 1 and the 12?
They
I
all
think
connect
that it
at
is.
point 12 is the connection
And so
point.
you've got,
The one is
if
the
you just
outer
look at,
expression.
I want to pull it up because I'm going to confuse myself. My question was, it's called the ethos and the eros. And what I'm wondering is the ethos and the eros. So the words that end with os, that means a specific type of matter base, a specific type of energy. You can see it in the 12 steps of materialization. The oses are like
Mhm.
maybe step 8 or something, or 7, where it's a specific stage that the oses are created. And so we have the ethos and the eros. My question, so that's a matter base. And my question is that the matter base? Are those extra Cathar grids, those ethos eros grids? That's what we breathe when we work with our pillar of power. We actually inhale and we pull I think it's the ethos grid up from the bottom first, and then we pull the eros grid down from the top, and it comes all together and sparks our lotus or something. And then that's when we start with the lotus breathing, and we breathe our pillar of power and phase our lotus petals. We're talking about the light body level of our lotus structure.
Mhm.
Yeah, are those ethos eros matter base grids, are those the iridonis bodies that we eventually bring back, that we learn about, later? Did you follow that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I do. I don't know if anyone watching this. I
I
mean,
want to
it's this
find the
is
the other picture that I'm talking about, because that might help.
sure. Yeah, I have. This is another. It's a
How do I get
wonderfully
okay.
frustrating thing. We were just saying earlier about how it's challenging to even. This is such a massive body of information that has been dispensed since about 1998 and been structured in layers that are all comprehensive and coherent. And there's
Can't
just
be
so
right.
much of
Oh,
it that's been spread around the world that, yeah, it's also been very, very intentionally attempted to be destroyed at many times, as most human knowledge has been, as we know. So those of us
mhm.
that can we're using a lot of Dropbox stuff now so we can share it, but just finding specifically when we have a conversation and our consciousness is seeking the diagram, the picture, the support
Yes,
material.
like I have it here. I
Yeah,
just need to get it there.
there's
Okay.
the Merkaba field. There we go.
Yep. Wait.
Which, by the way, very important distinction I do want to mention is that the top, the one, this Merkaba field, it rotates clockwise at 33 and 1/3 proportion to the bottom magnetic pointing down that rotates counterclockwise at 11 and 2/3. So if you want to call that trillions of times a second, or just it's the relationship of how the counter rotating spin creates the experience, the embodiment of the consciousness that is held within it. And a lot of Merkaba teachings out there, especially the distorted ones that come from Anu or Draco teachings, will teach you the exact opposite. They'll teach you to spin them at the wrong rates. And if you imagine this improperly, it's incredibly harmful to yourself and the grids themselves. So just remember, top electrical, 33 and 1/3. That number is very important for other reasons. Bottom electrical is 11 and 2/3 in their spin rates. I wanted to make an animation of this for so long. I just don't have the skill set to be able to do that yet. Is this the one you're looking for? This is from Kathara 2.3.
Okay, I'm going to come back to that, because that's just I think that's answering a question that
134.
so I just
Okay.
wanted to point out, yeah, and we have embedded Merkabas because we have embedded Kathara grids, right? So
Mhm,
right now where consciousness is stationed on D3, dimension 3
mhm,
we're perceiving from, so dimension 2 is what we're perceiving as solid. But
mhm,
we have this whole string of these that our consciousness organically would be connected in with. But if you can imagine what would happen if you
Can you maximize that again, Erin?
break this line, if you break this vertical line and take like this D2, like see how this says D2? Where's my annotate? This says this is the D2 level of your Merkaba field here, this
Mhm,
one. If you take this vertical line is called its staff. It's an energetic line, right? It's an
mhm,
energy line, and you can manipulate electromagnetic energy with electromagnetism. And when
mhm.
you know that, and you know this structure, then you break this and make it tip it. Well, now it's pointing like this,
You mean like on a 23.5-degree axis
like on a
wobble, like
23.
the Earth
That's
is
so weird.
rotating?
That's so weird. Why we don't all have the same vertical as our sun?
Mhm,
That you know what else is so weird?
hmm.
Why is it how is it possible that humans have less chromosomes than some varieties of cherries?
Why indeed?
Why indeed? That's so odd. Okay, so if you tip this over, now it's not can't spiral. It's not on, it can't get here. This is the breathing. So, like, the energy comes down and spirals into the manifestation that is being created here at the center of, if you're just looking at one of these Merkaba fields, they all have, there's a circle you can draw. This is what you learn when you draw it, that there's a sphere. So this actually isn't the best. Let me see, because some of these alignments aren't exactly right, but there's this field called the Tryon field that fits perfectly right inside of here. I think it's
Mhm.
between the
Trion
11 and
Miage is one bigger, right?
the
Trion
Miage is the
Miage.
sound is the small one that goes. Let's
Oh,
look at
that's the inside.
a different picture. Wait a minute.
Okay.
But so at the middle there's a sphere in the middle of the Merkaba that that is where the manifestation happens, and that top spiral is the bringing in of the energy. It's spiraling it down into that, and then the counter rotating one is spiraling it back out again.
You know, I want to mention this too, is that this is something that I am very, very challenged to try and explain to someone who, if they want to stay in a phase locked understanding, they're not willing to let go, acknowledge. That's very interesting. Is that the 23.5-degree axis wobble that the Earth has now? What if it always wasn't like that? What if that's, for example, what happened in 25,558 BC and 9,558 BC, where that the Merkaba was broken? That's what we know of as the Great Deluge in every single spiritual and indigenous
Yes, it
wisdom
caused pole
tradition.
shift when that happens. When you
And it
break that.
caused a pole shift. Yes.
I love this picture.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, these are lotus petals. When you're talking about lotus petals earlier, they
Mm.
are the
Of
code
energy. They're arcs
arcs
of
of
energy.
energy.
Yep. That make lotus petals. We have
Mm-hmm.
flowers. Oh.
Mm-hmm. And the ones going out
And
at
yeah.
45 degrees actually move like this, like wings. If they're
Yep.
phase
And they
locked and
come to the
stuck.
vertical, up to the vertical all together and
Yep.
spark.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
That's
And
why
you
all the
can,
body movements, when we do things like this and we use our bodies, it is activating that with body movement too.
here's the shields you were talking about.
Mm,
We're looking for ethos zeros. Maybe it's Kathara 4.
maybe.
This is all crystal body, crystal body. Yeah, I think it is. I think it might be Kathara 4. Do you have that? You want me to pull it up?
I don't have Kathara 4 handy on my
I do.
screen right now.
All right, here.
Yeah. This is one of those things that when we say like, oh, I feel unprepared, and you're like, let's just do it, just hit record, we'll figure it out. I like that, we will figure it out. But this is the technical details of like how to find the thing that I am thinking of to talk about. Where the heck did I put it? While you're looking too, I'm curious to ask Noel this later. But it's seems like a very frequent challenge for me when
No, it's not in
I
here.
want
All
it's
right, it
not in
must
there.
be over
Okay.
here. Let's go back. I mean, we still have another 100,000 pages of this manual to go. Here we see the problem. One of the problems. This is the Shona field.
Shona is dead light. Shona is light that does not exchange back to source. It has no backflow return compared to Shalea light, right?
Let's see that, yeah. Let's see. Okay.
Well, that's not a bad one to demonstrate it. When you maximize it, do the pages on the side go away?
Yeah, but I can't see them then. Why do you want me to do that? You just.
No, that's totally fine. That also reminds me, I actually have Lynn, friend of mine, who
Lynn, yes. That
he did an
reminded me of one of his
amazing,
diagrams too.
amazing
He animated
animation
it.
of this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lynn's amazing.
Yeah.
Kusha, Master Council. Now we know who those guys are, where they're
Mm,
coming from, don't we?
that we do. Oh, I found the animation of that, by the way, of the 4 Kathara grids
Yeah.
molding together.
This is interesting. Eka clockwise base shield. See it's just showing you one
There's our
spiral.
concave.
That's not. Those are not. Those are. Oh, I gotta look at that closer too.
That's a great illustration, what you were saying before of concave and convex. That's what draws the lotus petals. And one side is the other. It's just a mirrored representation. One goes like this, one goes like that.
That's not the crystal spiral. I gotta look at what she's showing there. I gotta look at that more.
I don't know. This
I don't
looks
think I
like
ever noticed this
notes
before.
she jotted down before they. Yeah, whoa, that looks like a nautilus shell too.
Yeah. Those are the winds. Those are the winds of ala that come out that make those flame, the petals of that flame, that looks like a pot leaf.
Hmm.
That's what this I think is showing is the winds. The winds. 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 Okay,
Mhm.
I'm getting distracted. What's this ridiculousness?
While you're looking for that.
Mhm.
So here is, we were talking about that structure. And here's the animation of 4 Kathara grids nesting together into the drawing that you showed earlier of the 4 lotus petals that also create 8. It's so cool to be able to use vector animation to demonstrate this stuff. It's just incredibly beautiful. And it shows the coherence of the structure too.
Yeah.
And then if you look, the red that are node 1, they will still fold in together after doing it's a 90-degree rotation they do, and they still, because they're linked at the 12th node, they will still all be expressed outward. Yeah. But another example of lotus petals. I did want to also, I think we can go over this a little bit with Noel, but I'm a big fan of Walter Russell's work as well.
Etheric ethos flames. Here they are.
You found it? Okay, let me
Well,
stop share again.
I found the topic.
Go ahead. It's all yours.
Plasmic healing hands
Can we
of the
maximize
Eka
again?
body. So I'm gonna say this is my opinion only.
Okay. Can you
We
maximize it just for
started,
clarity?
yep, we started learning plasma body here. This Kathara 2-3 is I propose that this is the beginning of plasma body.
Mm.
This is why it felt like, what the heck are they talking about? Holy crap, how did we get there? So this is etheric ethos. This is, here you can see the L'Ettore flame. These are monadic balls. This isn't the one that this is just the section that I think that it's in.
Mm-hmm. And the
So,
shape of the Akasha flame code is in
yeah.
all of them too.
Here's the Merkabas. If you want to see the shield spinning in the Merkabas
Mm-hmm.
inside of there. What else we got? Oh, here's your
There's spin rates. Look right in the middle.
the,
Relative spin ratios. Electrical spin rate
is that where
times 3
there we go.
minus 1. Yeah,
There's as you
there's
move up,
11 and
it
two
starts getting
thirds,
fast.
33 and a third electrical clockwise. Yes. Wait a minute.
What?
Are those reversed? No. 11 and 2/3 magnetic counterclockwise is the one pointing down.
For us, yeah,
33 and
here. Yep,
for us
magnetic.
here. Yes.
Mhm.
But in different phases, they change, which is another amazing and important point that if it's all disinformation and misinformation, how do we know without context what indeed is a Merkaba anyway?
What indeed? What's it for? What's it doing?
Mm.
Here's what happens when the staff of your Merkaba field breaks and the axis
Oh,
shift.
you're not screen sharing anymore.
Oh, well, I guess I'm the only one who's gonna know then.
Oh, no. I thought it was funny when you walked away. You're like, I'll come outside. I won't embarrass you. It's something you have to remind
Yeah,
teenagers all the time. Okay, here we go.
yeah.
Compacted Shona finite life Merkaba. Can you expand that real quick? Because this is really important, I feel.
Go ahead. You want to talk about it?
Well, that's when the vertical line, the staff that connects vertically up the grid is distorted or shifted or pole shifted. That means that the energy that would manifest up and be the backflow return to source goes somewhere else, and it keeps it phase locked. Monadic Hara line. That's the monad. So yeah, the monadic Hara line is also another term for the vertical line. The seed atom reverses and splits off. So not only are these distorted mechanics or these non-sacred geometries that we've been taught in the past, not only are they're literally reversed structures. It's not just slightly not correct. It's the opposite of what you want because it pulls the contraction down. So the only experience is the oscillation expression into the finite manifest experience. The way to go back home is completely distorted.
Can't
And
get
now
there from here.
oh, what's that one? 144? Page
Oh,
144. What a great page number.
I think the 45-degree shift is talking about coming into the Eka alignment, but the
Mm,
broken one was 2023 and a third. Like that's the
mhm.
different one, but the 45-degree line
23.5, I
would
think.
be it would be the Eka alignment.
Mm,
Alignment with the Eka staff.
yep.
That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Which the rod and the staff are the
Well, I
vertical
think
and the
that diagram was
horizontal.
talking about how the Eka monadic staff got broken. And it's
Mhm.
the staff that was sitting on the 45-degree angle. That staff broke.
It's just so amazing, right?
So amazing.
Hmm. You know, I was going through old notebook pages. I have one here. I think I told you a few of them, but I think I wrote this down in like maybe 2007 or so. And one of the things that it says at the top is, before I begin, I understand that I know nothing.
Here it is. We have
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh,
down
that's
here
just like the one that Lynn did in
ethos.
vector artwork with the bodies.
Yeah, yeah. I think Noel made one. Yep. This isn't exactly the one. It showed both axes of it. I guess it doesn't matter. It showed the ones going on the horizontal also. Here, is this it? There!
Yay!
Yay. Okay.
Okay, let's maximize. Let's zoomy zoom.
Well, all right. Yeah, this one. Zoom out.
Kathara. Look at that.
Okay, so ethos is this ball down here, the ethos cell, and the eros cell, right?
Oh, wow. Yes, the Eros cell at the top and the ethos cell at the bottom are the names of the energy flows.
So our Cathar, we would be this one here at the middle, right? And this is what we have connected up. So the Tha sphere isn't showing the Cathar grid in there. We're looking at
Mhm.
the Eros sphere with its Cathar grid and the Ethos sphere with its Cathar grid. Because when we look at it, all right, see if you can follow this. When we look at it in the Vekas, right, with the 4 going both ways, those really all exist at the center. And we look at it like that in order to understand the angular relationship between the different grids.
Mm.
What? The angular relationship of particle spins. Eli, what? Okay, I'll do that for you in like 2 minutes when I'm done getting this wave out of my head. And so when you do that, when you imagine them actually with all their azares at the center, when you bring these two horizontal ones together and they overlap, you see that let's see, the 12 point and the 1 points are opposite. So they come together, but the 12 of the one is here and the 12 of the other is here. So they're on top of each other, but they're reversed. They're the reflection of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the same. And so we have ones that on this axis that are both ways and ones on this axis with both ways. So what I am wondering is, one of these balls would correlate with what we call the iridanus, which would be the spirit bodies. So the ethos would probably be the spirit body of Ettore, and the eros would probably be associated with the adore spirit body. So it would be, our iridanus would actually be made of eros energy, because if that's adore's spirit body, then that would be, and then the opposite would be true for the other side. And so
And
what
on
I'm
the,
wondering
yeah,
is that what those are? Is that what, when we were learning this back in K23, is this what
Mhm.
later is our iridani spirit bodies?
Yeah. Here, I'm gonna take a note. I wanna ask Noel what he thinks about this too, because I think you're onto something, and that is correct. This is page 219 of Kathara 2.3. So just have that open when we talk to him, because I think that's quite accurate in terms of particle antiparticle relationship. And then the internal expression of one is the external of another, and vice versa.
Okay.
Also, ethos and eros are pretty well-known terms in Greek philosophy.
Yeah.
Erin had to take a quick break here, but I just wanted to pull up a couple supportive images to demonstrate some of the things we're talking about is that in a 15-dimensional structure, the very center of this is at dimension 8. Everything from the center down is represented as lower dimensional fields. Everything from the center up is higher dimensional fields. And these are the qualities of each one that are corresponding and opposite. So higher dimensional fields are lower vibration, less energy held in the particle, more energy expended from the particle, which is more oscillation. There's more expansion. There's a faster flash rate, flash line rhythm of particle, higher frequency of flash. So the cycles per second of frequency are increased. There is more external movement, faster oscillation. It has a shorter wavelength because the wavelength is the measurement of frequency, and the shorter wavelength means higher frequency. The electron spin is slower around the nucleus. The greater expansion of energy units. There's also less density, less magnetism, and more electricity in the higher dimensional realms. Lower dimensional fields, which correspond to, by the way, top tetrahedron of the Merkaba field that spins clockwise 33 and 1/3 to the bottom magnetic, which spins 11 and 2/3 counterclockwise in opposition to each other. So a higher vibration of a lower dimensional field means more energy held in the particle, less energy expended from the particle because it's holding it. There's a lower oscillation in correspondence. There is more contraction. There is more expansion internally. There's a slower flash rate of particle. There's a lower frequency, and there is more internal movement. The internal expansion is what is reflected by meaning high vibration. The oscillation is slower, the wavelength is longer, and the faster the electron spins around the nucleus of the particles created by it. There's a greater compaction of energy, which is the pull in. Compaction is not necessarily a positive thing. The magnetism is greater, the pull, the draw, and it is less electrical the further you go down this dimensional band. And if we're in dimension 1, 2, and 3, or density 1, then all of these features will be more of from 8 out. And then I want to pull this up too, which is from KDDL2 manual. This is a term ELF, equilibrium lull force field, and LUV, which is lowest unified velocity field. So these are those two corresponding relationships that Erin was talking about earlier. And here's a good picture showing the electromagnetic dimensional spectrum where 8 is in the center. This is the point that our consciousness comes into manifestation and how a universe exists in its template, where you can see these two structures that dimension 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 has an opposite, an anti-particle to its particle correspondence here and here. And these can be split to understand what the lowest unified velocity interface point is, which is in the infrared spectrum. It's right exactly in the center, which is one reason why sunlight and infrared light is extremely healing to be around, because you're getting the lowest unified velocity that comes from every harmonic universe and every dimension from the center point out, which is how we express, and it's also the way we remember to go back. If our vertical line is maintained and we're training our consciousness to understand how to do this. I think I'll wait for her to return to continue, but I just wanted to, I found the diagrams we were talking about earlier that might be relevant. And when we're talking to Noel in a little bit here, one thing I do want to bring up in terms of harmonics, frequency, and density and how it relates to musical theory and the difference between a Christic scale of understanding these frequencies and music will be important to get into a little bit of cymatics, life dimensions, the work that Walter Russell did in the past. Several people did work on this. Geometry of music. This is a diagram from Lin in Korea. And we will see what Noel can share with us about these images.